Hey everyone, Steve Monette here with another video in my Bible Prophecy Bite series where we look at Bible scripture, history, and current events that all point to the soon return of Jesus the Messiah. Okay, so for today's video, it is going to be part 8 in my series, Come Out of Her, My People. And we're going to continue looking at the 11 scriptural identifications for the Antichrist. Today, more specifically, I'm going to prove to you that the little horn of Daniel 7 and the beasts of Revelation 13, 17, and 18 are all one and the same. And this beast is none other than the Antichrist himself. Okay, so let's start in Daniel 7 with a really quick review. We have covered this material in previous videos, but I want to at least talk about it so that we can put it all together, okay? It'll only take a few seconds. In Daniel 7, we find that the angel is describing 10 kings that will come after the Roman Empire. And then an 11th kingdom, or little horn, will rise up from among the original 10. This 11th kingdom, or little horn, will destroy 3 of the original 10 kingdoms, thereby leaving 7 kingdoms left. And 8 kingdoms if you include this little horn. The angel specifically states that in this 11th kingdom, or little horn, will be different from all of the rest. And this little horn will then go on to make war with the saints. It will have eyes like a man, and it will speak blasphemies against the Most High God. And it was given power for 1,260 years. Interestingly, these 10 kings that are spoken of in Daniel 7 are the same as the 2 feet and 10 toes of clay and iron of that great image that was given to Nebuchadnezzar in a dream. And you can find that in Daniel chapter 2. So, let's fast forward to Revelation 13, where we read of a beast or a kingdom that has 7 heads and 10 crowns. It gets its power from the dragon or Satan, and this beast also makes war with the saints, speaks out blasphemies against the Most High God, and was also given power for 1,260 years, and who is also worshipped by the entire world. Now, do a side-by-side comparison. The description of these 10 crowns is identical to the beast in Daniel 7. So it's an easy compilation. The beast of Revelation 13 and Daniel 7 are one in the same. Okay? In Revelation 17, this beast that's talked about in this chapter also has 7 heads and 10 crowns. But interestingly, there's a change here. This beast or kingdom now has a woman rider on it whose name is Mystery Babylon. And this beast has the color of scarlet on its skin, which is indicative of being filled with sin. Now, this woman is also described as being decked out in purple and scarlet and precious stones, and actually holds a golden cup in her hand that was filled with much sin, iniquity, and abomination. It also says that this woman was drunk with the blood of the saints. And the angel tells us that the 7 heads that the woman sit on is really a city and 7 mountains of hills. Okay? So we don't have to do a lot of interpreting ourselves because the angel tells John what it really is. Okay? So, let's put all of the pieces together, okay? We know that this kingdom gets its power from Satan. We know that it speaks great blasphemies against God. It has the blood of at least 60 million plus saints on its hands and is quite frankly drunk on this blood. It has had power for 1,260 years. It received a mortal wound and then went on to be healed from that mortal wound. And now it rules from a city that sits on 7 hills, just as the Bible told us, okay? Now, when you put all of this together, is it possible that a single entity could make all, meet all of the descriptions that are given in Scripture? Does it sound like any one particular entity to you? In fact, I could take that question one step further. Does it sound like all of this is in some futuristic kingdom? Or maybe, just maybe, it's possible that there is an entity that already exists and meets every single solitary scriptural description, whether it be in Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Revelation 13, Revelation 17, or Revelation 18. Well, guess what? The answer is a resounding yes. There is such an entity that meets every single one of these scriptural descriptions. And it is none other than the Catholic Church and the papal dynasty. To say otherwise, I'm sorry to say, but it means that you are intentionally ignoring history and Scripture. Okay? Again, but that is your choice. At the end of the day, it is your choice to do such a thing. Okay? First off, let us remember that the papal dynasty came out from 10 kings. It then went on to destroy 3 of those kings, leaving 7 behind. And if it was to add itself into it, it would be the 8th kingdom. So take a look at this. Here is a picture of the Vatican adorned with purple and scarlet, just as we read about in Revelation 17. And purple and scarlet are the colors of the bishops and the cardinals. Here is a picture of the Pope holding a golden cup, which the Bible tells us is filled with abominations. And here is a picture of the papal crown with 3 levels or 3 heads, most likely representing the 3 kingdoms that the papal dynasty had destroyed in the early 6th century. And also, those kingdoms are still extinct today. And look at this picture of the Pope being worshipped by the entire world. Many peoples from all across the world. And now, look at this picture taken from a newspaper print in 1929 that actually shows that the world believed that the mortal wound was actually healed. And then look at this picture of a world king kissing the hand of the Pope. Now that's worship, okay? That is worship, plain and simple. And finally, look at this quote, where the papal dynasty calls itself the Vicar of Christ. And what does the Vicar of Christ really mean? It means substitute for Christ. I mean, I don't know. That is what antichrist is, substitute for Christ. I mean, these people name themselves the antichrist. And yet people still will refuse to believe that the papal dynasty is the antichrist. I'm definitely befuddled by that. Because guess what? It all fits together perfectly. And as I said, there are numerous evangelical Christians and scholars that insist that this antichrist beast figure or kingdom is in the future, okay, and not in the past. And this is called futurism, by the way, okay? And it was the futurism doctrine that was made so popular by Tim LaHaye in the Left Behind series, which, by the way, was a great work of fiction. I really enjoyed that book, that entire series, by the way, okay? And for those of you that are interested in where this whole idea of futurism comes from, look up the name Francisco Ribera. This guy was a Jesuit priest who was tasked with coming up with a storyline to draw attention away from the papal dynasty, which had already been identified as the Antichrist by several early church scholars, such as Martin Luther, John Wycliffe, and William Tyndale, just to name a few. And since we're speaking of the future, let's be clear. The Antichrist and his beast kingdom have a future already planned for them. When we read Revelation 18, we read that God will destroy all the nations that associated themselves with the Catholic Church, and he will destroy them with fire. He will also destroy the Catholic Church itself, and all of her riches will be destroyed as well. And the smoke from her burning will be seen by all who associated with her. And there will be much wailing and crying and fear when this day occurs. And that is why God calls his people to come out of her, so that these people do not have to face the same punishment. All right, so I think I'm going to stop here for today. I have definitely given you guys a lot of information, and I'm almost afraid that I may have approached the red line for overload. You know, I covered the New Testament and the Old Testament, and I think I covered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 different chapters, all within about 10 minutes. So yeah, that's a lot of information. But hopefully you can clearly see that the 2 feet, 10 toes of Daniel 2, the little horn of Daniel 7, and the beast of Revelation 13, Revelation 17, and Revelation 18 all point to a single entity, and history has easily identified who this entity is. It is none other than the Catholic Church and the papal dynasty. So, as we approach the day of the Lord and the rapture of the church, I do fully expect to see the papal dynasty to become more involved in world affairs, especially as they relate to Israel and the Middle East. So keep your eyes out for that. What is it going to look like specifically? Yeah, I wish I could tell you. I just don't have that answer, but I am watching closely. Okay, so I'm going to call it right there for today. Next video will be the final video in this series, and it will be a summary of everything that we have covered so far in the previous 8 videos. So, in the meantime, keep looking up, for our redemption draws near. Thanks for watching.